Today you're in Steve's kitchen and it is all about the humble cabbage, which appears around the world in all sorts of gastronomy. Particularly you see it in Korea by way of kimchi, which is absolutely delicious. In France we used to have this, it was choucroute, which is very similar as a derivative from the German super famous sauerkraut. Now, sauerkraut is a fermented cabbage and it is so delicious and not very difficult to make. I've wanted to make this for a long time. I actually have some nice sauerkraut making equipment, but it's all back home. So today we're going to be making it just with our hands and I'll show you how simple it is to make. First of all, we have to take this rather huge head of cabbage. I'm going to divide it up into quarters and just take the core out. Now slice your cabbage as thin as you like. If you like it super fine, then go ahead. I like a little extra texture to my sauerkraut. Now we slice it up a little similar to you would a coleslaw. You could put this into a big silver bowl like I've got here. Actually those washing bowls, you know, the sort of washing up bowls work really well. I haven't got one with me. That's what I tended to use in the past. We're going to need to salt our cabbage. Now I've got about 4 kilos, which is a little bit over 8 pounds of cabbage. So I'm going to use about 10 grams of salt per pound of cabbage. So you can see even from just a quarter of a cabbage, we get this huge volume of shredded cabbage. So we can now take our cabbage and pop it into a bowl. Rather than put all of the salt in at once, I'm going to sprinkle a quarter of my salt over the cabbage. And I'm just going to massage the salt in with the cabbage. Now there's the second quarter into the bowl, a little extra salt. Just going to massage this through a little bit. Now the last of the head of cabbage is going in. I'm going to sprinkle the remainder of my salt over the cabbage. And again, we want to massage the salt into the cabbage, just turning it as we go. Now at this point as well, it's time to add any flavors into the sauerkraut if you want. A little bit of garlic crushed up goes in really well. I've also got some mustard seeds, about 2 tablespoons. I'm actually going to add that in there. And a typical herb is caraway seeds, which gives a lovely flavor to the sauerkraut. So I'm going to put about a tablespoon of caraway seeds in. Now it looks like a mound of cabbage, I know, but we're going to leave this now for an hour, maybe 2 hours, to let the salt do its work and start to draw the moisture out of the cabbage. By leaving the cabbage in the salt for about an hour, hour and a half, what we've actually done is let it do the work for us. Now when I talked about tools, I have actually a German sauerkraut sort of stick. It's a plunger of sorts. And when I used to make it before, I would quite tenderize the cabbage down by using this thing, virtually sort of pulverizing it till it was very soft. I've decided lately that I prefer my sauerkraut to have a little more texture, so I'm going to let the salt do the work for me. And you can see in the bottom of the bowl now just how much water has been drained out of the sauerkraut. And you can also see a lovely glistening on the surface of the cabbage as the water's been drawn out. So that's pretty much ready now. I'm going to put this into a jar. Now I have this tool jar here. It's the sort that you would maybe keep pasta in, but I think it will look really good for the fermentation process of the cabbage. Of course, a shorter, squat Kilner jar would do the job just as well. Now I'm going to take my cabbage and I'm going to start putting it into the jar. Now it's looking pretty full, but if I get a wooden spoon and I start to push this down and compress the cabbage, there's a lot more space yet in the jar. I'm going to continue to top up the jar and get a little bit on the outside. And with all this beautiful liquid, which I'm just going to pour over the cabbage, get all those mustard seeds in there as well. Now, in order for this to ferment properly, we need to completely submerge all our cabbage under the water. Whilst our sauerkraut is fermenting, we don't want to store it in direct sunlight, so a nice cool larder is perfect. Years ago, I used to have a nice earthenware pot we used to do this in, and it was ideal because the lid didn't fit tight, so it meant that the air could escape as the sauerkraut was fermenting. You do need the sauerkraut to stay below the water level. We've got a nice amount of brine in here. Now you could either take a glass, this one here I've just sterilized, and you could use the base of the glass just to push the cabbage underneath the brine, and then cover that with a loose fitting cloth just to keep any debris out. The idea is just to weight the sauerkraut below the water. A little Ziploc bag like this filled with clear water, and we can just pop that in. That's another great way of just keeping the air away from the cabbage. I'm not actually going to put this lid on tight. I don't want to seal the air. You can get certain jars that have a little fermentation valve in the top, but this is perfectly good. I'm just going to store this now in my larder where it's nice and cool. And the sauerkraut will start to become ready after about 3 weeks. Actually, the longer you keep it, the better it will improve with age. Just keep an eye on it. The smells coming off it should be fresh and clean. And as long as you've kept everything fairly sterilized, you should have absolutely no problem creating the most delicious sauerkraut. So we'll take a look at this in 3 weeks' time and a little taste, and I'll let you know how we're getting on. Now, I thought it might be interesting to look at the sauerkraut or the cabbage, how it's fermenting after just 1 week. If you come in closely, you're going to see the bubbles have started to ferment right from the bottom of the sauerkraut. So that's not trap bubbles, that's actually fermentation of the cabbage. And those bubbles are going to percolate up through the liquid. And you're going to notice a bit of a change in the color of the cabbage. It's gone from that sort of bright, crisp white to a bruised, fermented looking color. Now the smell coming off of here should be fresh. If I smell there now, it's fresh and crisp. It's starting to smell just like sauerkraut. That's perfect. I'm going to pop this back in the cupboard. I'm just going to cover it over again, not put the lid on tight, and let this continue to ferment for another couple of weeks. Now my sauerkraut is ready. It's been about 3 weeks. If I'm honest with you, it's a little over 3 weeks. It's smelling fresh, it's delicious. I can't wait to tuck in. I will say to you that the liquid levels will drop during the fermentation and you may need to top it up. If you take about a cup of water and dissolve about half a tablespoon of salt in there, you're getting still about a 2% solution. And just top it up, make sure the cabbage is kept below the water, and you're going to end up with this gorgeous, delicious sauerkraut. I'm just going to take that little bag out that was holding it down. Now, sauerkraut made this way will last for months and months. I tend to prefer to keep it in the fridge once I've started using it, but you can keep it out on the side for several days at least and it won't spoil. Now just come in here. Look, I'm going to pull this cabbage up. It's pretty stiff. It's all sort of knitted together. And if I take some of it out and we'll just pop it into a serving bowl. Smells like pickled sauerkraut, smells delicious. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, there's been a lot in the news and in social media recently about the health benefits of these fermented cabbages like sauerkraut and kimchi. So it looks as if we've made a super health food as well, but actually what we've made is just delicious sauerkraut. Now, you may decide to serve this and just eat it as a cold salad. It goes really great with a sort of bratwurst or cooked sausage of any sort. I'm just gonna have a little try now just to sort of tell you what it tastes like. Here goes. Can you hear? Man, that tastes so good. I do love sauerkraut. It's not too salty. It's just about perfect. It's got that fermented taste. It's got the crunch as you heard there. If you decide to make sauerkraut at home, just let me know how you get along with it, whether you're a lover of sauerkraut. Now, if you've only ever had sauerkraut that comes from the supermarket, try and make it yourself. I tell you, it's so much more delicious without all the preservatives and additives that they put in. Now, many of you may ask what to do with this sauerkraut now that we've started to use it. You could keep it in a jar just like this with the lid a little bit open, just keep that water level or the salt water level up so that it doesn't go off, and it will continue to ferment a little bit longer. What you could actually do is just seal that up now, close the lid down tight, and once the lid's on, you can store this for a month or two easily in the fridge if it lasts that long. Just keep smelling it occasionally. If it starts to smell a little bit funky, then probably it's time not to eat it anymore, but generally trust your nose. I hope that helps a little bit. And if you've been listening to all the health benefits of fermented foods like sauerkraut online, comment down below, share those across with everybody here on Steve's Kitchen. It's great to hear your thoughts and opinions. Be good, and we'll see you for another fun video in Steve's Kitchen very shortly. Take care.